share the learnings. And the reason why I chose these learnings from ADRA Kenya has been quite involved in various, socio-ecosystems programming, looking at different arid areas, semi-arid areas in Kenya. And I'm just picking one of the projects that has ended last year, where we were quite involved in it, and share some of the learnings on how we can use the community financial capital for community resilience, and how there is a lot of interlinkages between the community capitals. So this project was funded by ADRA Germany and BMZ, and implemented by ADRA Kenya. And it's called Rehabilitation of Ecosystem and Agriculture Project, that is REAP. So we are going to look at food, water, and climate nexus. So there will be that aspect, and the project recovery, and also the concept of the use of farmer-managed natural regeneration groups and enrichment planting strategy. And also look at model farms, the environment, and also using the use of village saving loaning association as a pathway for economic growth for the communities. So as you know, Kenya, there is always desperate food situation in various parts of the country. Like for example, in this, as you can see, the map of Kenya was projected last by the FuseNet, the ones who deal with the early warning system. It shows various areas which are food insecure, and they are in emergency assistance. And what we are going to look out for, we are going to look at these areas, especially in the eastern province of Kenya, which is a semi-arid area, and where ADRA Kenya has been quite involved in. Looking at the food and water and climate nexus, we look at three intersecting components of how to achieve food security and poverty reduction as one component, coping with water scarcity, because this is very common in those semi-arid areas. Water is so scarce. Water for drinking, for domestic use, it's just a problem. And also, how do we mitigate and adapt to climate changes? And here I share the Ban Ki-moon sentiments about water is a precious resource, and it is crucial to realizing the Sustainable Development Goals, which at their heart aim to eradicate poverty. Now, the community capital framework is quite key in building a strong, resilient community. And we have seen this through this project implementation, such that how the capitals flow into and out of one another, with the aim of reducing, the challenges and the bump people face along the way. There is so much interlinkages between them: the natural capital, the human capital, social capital, cultural capital, political, built capital within the community, and financial capital. And this project, the key areas focused on financial capital and natural capital and social capital, but at the same time, all the other capitals, they were touched in one way or another through stakeholders, and also through the community they worked with. So there is a lot of interlinkages, and we cannot divorce from any capital from each other. These are some of the learnings I've seen from the evaluation that was done synchronizing some of the lessons, I was able to look at each section, what kind of capital, what was the linkage between each capital with the overall objective of what ADRA Kenya did. And this is what actually I came up to see. It is actually it is flowing in all sections. The project coverage covered Mwingi. You can see there in the map. It's in the eastern province and it's one of the sub-counties of Kitui County in Kenya. And this is an area that is well known. It's normally they experience a lot of disasters, drought, flooding, sometimes, diseases, livestock issues because of the lack of enough fodder. And this project was implemented. It was a 3-year project from November 17 to October 31st. 2021, though the stakeholders meeting on the lessons learned was done only, I think, a month ago or so. And the target beneficiaries was 3,415 households. Now, the goal of this project was actually targeting smallholder farmers to strengthen their resilience to climate change. And this was being done through rehabilitation of degraded lands and improvement of food security. And at the same time, providing household income as a way of reducing poverty. So these are the key areas that were covered: climate smart water capture to commodity and food crop production. This is a new innovation that was used, and environmental conservation, and through the use of farmer managed regeneration approach, and also enrichment plan. And lastly, marketing, saving, and loaning for improving their income, diversification. As you can see in this photo, you can see the communities were really engaged in every aspect. There was this strategy where communities were involved in the work, and provided there was a technical person to support them, they were able to come up with a climate smart water catchment, so that they will use those catchment area to do their farming activity. It's something that was not done before, but it has been applied in different locations and seems to be working quite well. So this is the concept that is being promoted in this area, and it's making an impact over the last 3 to 4 years or so. That is smart water capture. And also helping the community on how they can use different types of seed crops and all that. Vegetable gardening, you can see the onions there, the vegetables, and the dam there. Maybe I can explain this here. Then the project targeted 6 agricultural model demonstration farms which were established. And these farms were provided, they were given out by the community, where they would come, they would learn from those farms, they will practice farming from those farms, and the skills, the knowledge that was transferred to them, they would go and apply it when in their own farms. And you can see they worked as a group. Here is a harvest of these onions. And you can see behind there the vegetables that the farm has planted, and making a bigger impact for the communities. Taking them home and also using it also for sale. They were taught the importance of using high value crops, even seeds, and how to nurture the same, and how to harvest, and also storage. So the project spent time transferring knowledge to the community, and also trying to change or to improve their perception getting to know that there is a way they can use different seeds to plant and to harvest, aside from their traditional way of farming, and moving away from dependency on the rain-fed farming to fed agriculture, to this smart water capture agriculture. And you can see the harvest actually yielded good results. So there was so much, time spent having the community getting to, to have this mindset of being the new information getting to them, that there is a different way of farming, because the rains are so scarce in this region. When they have different methods of farming, they can still feed their families. They can also diversify different type of crops which grow very fast, and they can harvest and do that. Then the other component is about environmental conservation through the farmer-managed natural regeneration concept. It is a low-cost, sustainable land restoration technique, and normally it is used to combat poverty and hunger amongst the subsistence farmers in developing countries. And it involves systematic regeneration and management of trees and shrubs. And one of the learnings we learned from here, using this enrichment planting and FMNR strategy, is that the community, working with the community and using their knowledge, their indigenous knowledge, it's quite impactful. Because in this project, one of the things, when these activities began, the local leaders and even the community members, they came together and they had a good history of their original species that used to be there, but those species are no longer there. So they were able to identify them. What are the species, the herbs, the shrubs that were used to grow there, and now they have become extinct. So one of the things in the enrichment planting strategy was to allow them, to protect the area and to provide a good environment for the regrowth, because the roots are still there, and they knew that, when the area is protected, that was a new knowledge. The seed, the roots of those trees started sprouting out because they are still there. So we came to learn that when you work with the community, use their knowledge, and also embracing those historical original species, they are able to embrace the idea of managing the natural, regeneration concept, and be able to bring the area back to green. So that is one of the important lessons we learned when in this project. So the other achievement concerning this, the farmers also, they were able to receive training, and out of which 84.2%, they have actually adapted the intervention, with every farmer having an average of 2.25 acres under rehabilitation. And more than 500 indirect participants, they are already actually implementing FMNR strategy with a total of 760 acres under rehabilitation as we speak. So now, concerning also land restoration through soil and water conservation and reforestation, about 100% of the targeted smallholders farmers and more 500 other indirect participants, they are currently practicing reforestation and soil enrichment technique. So this enrichment technique is quite useful for them, and also supporting them to acknowledge the native drought-resistant grass species. They can use it. It's something that they are very much aware of. So it's just a matter of helping them to grow those resistant trees and the grass, and they can be useful also for the shade, and also for ornamental things, because the community are they are known, they are very good in Kenya in doing craft products. So they can use these type of trees to get the things that they need, and also it's also important for medicinal purposes. So for them, expanding this kind of knowledge and bringing their land back to where it was, because they have history of how it was, and in giving them information, transferring information to them and how they can bring it back, it's their joy, and one could see the joy from their hearts, that they can see the beauty of their land restored. Then there is also fodder harvesting. Some of the beneficiaries were able to have grass. Then they will harvest to feed their cattle, and also some of it to sell. So about 84.2%, they have adapted the intervention, with every farmer having an average of I think I've mentioned that. The other component is about marketing, saving, and loaning for improved household income diversification. This was an interesting component because the community already, they do have those merry-go-rounds. They have different groups, and they do merry-go-round. They help each other by buying food, or even paying school fees for their children, or they are able to buy seeds and all that. But what ADRA did is that, scaling up what they have and connecting them with financial institutions to ensure that the groups have access to credit facility for their activities, and also to introduce diverse income generating activities to these village saving and loaning associations. And with this, we can see 79% of the household translating to approximately, that is 2,370 households. They are now selling their products in the local market. Then the disposable household income from the sale of agricultural produce, it's increased from 144.7% by 144.7% from what they used to have, that is $24. They used to have $24 at baseline. When the baseline was conducted, at that time, it was at $24, for this household. But during the end of the project, they had reached $58. So there is quite a big improvement of the income of the sale of agricultural produce. Then another achievement was that the average income obtained from the craft making, I have mentioned this is a community well known with craft making, and their market was not so good. They are somewhere interior, and maybe they lacked adequate networking for marketing their craft products. But when the baseline was conducted, at that time it was at $12. Income obtained from craft making business. It was from $12 and to $20 per month at the end of the baseline. This was for the household member who was doing crafts. So for them, being in the very interior villages, getting to even at $20, it's a great achievement for them. And it also gives them an encouragement to know, even when the farms are not producing anything, they have a different, an alternative of making money, and be able also to earn a living and pay school fees for their children and do other beneficial economical things within their household. So this is the craft. The women groups, they are doing making the bags for sale. And they do it, they normally meet on weekly basis. They will sit, they will talk about their group, how much they have contributed, how much they have earned, and they will spend time also, talking their own, things to talk as they make their product. And you can see on this other side, this woman had taken her melon, the harvest of what she had produced from her farm, and selling melons there, and she has her goat there. She has taken it to the market for sale, which also has improved their livelihood. So what we are learning from this project, we have come up with this model to say there is a way how we can look adaptation management of community. Identifying learning priorities in adaptation management. That's what I mean. When we engage community, when we use their social capitals, and we give them room to plan together, to ask themselves, asking ourselves hard questions. Is there something the community and project team are not absolutely confident about? Asking what is the applicability? Where does it work best? How is it implemented? How effective it is? Are there differing opinions between the community, the experts, and even the community leader? And is there a way of implementing things? So it is important to come to work together and have those learning priorities as part of adaptation management. Because when we engage the community and we set the visions together, identifying those options together, we will have prioritized intervention options together and get to see where are the gaps and what are those learning priorities, what are we leaving the community with, and they will embrace the process because they have been engaged all through, and the successes that they will earn, it is they will own it because they have been engaged all through the process. So this is what we have learned in this project, that when we learn, when we engage, and when we share the information, when we share the challenges, when there are differing opinions, we need to get together and find a way, how do we come out of those opinions, and how do we build together for the benefit of the community on the ground. So this is my presentation of the lessons, and just to finish it up, we get to see that indeed community capital is very important for community resilience and even for learning purposes, because when we talk about resilience, it's about evidence-based learning. What is this have we learned from the community? And what is this have we also given to the community? How are the synergies, and how should we ensure that our programming are within this kind of framework to ensure that we leave the community stronger than we found them? So thank you so much for the time given, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Hannah. That was really interesting. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts for Hannah and the project there?
Hi, Hannah Prakash here. Just one question. Thank you so much for the presentation. The question is specifically related to, was there any specific contingency plan or crisis modifier was in place in the project to ensure if there is something that really goes wrong during the project period, either through a natural disaster or through some issues related to probably irrigation or probably some pest problem to the agriculture crops? And if there were any contingency plan or crisis modifier in place, then what were those?
Okay, thank you for that. I know the previous project before this one began, the same community had been taken through the community managed DRR, and they had developed groups to respond to crisis when it arises. So I think that when this project came on board is building on the efforts that were done there. And there was also crisis modifier, because even when COVID came, there were some funding that was set aside where the community were trained, and they were given, you know, cushion on how to deal with the changes which have taken place. But it's building on what the previous project had done in terms of reducing the risk, and in the event of emergency, how the community groups can do that. But I don't know, maybe Kelvin, I don't know if in this project you are involved or the previous one, maybe you can add into this.
Thank you, Anna, and that is correct. Maybe what to add is one of the cautions that the project was really concerned with was provision of drought-resistant seedlings, both for the reforestation as well as the vegetables. And this was also looked at through not just the drought, but also in terms of seedlings that were both resistant to salinity. And these are some of the issues that had been earlier identified through the DRR.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe just to add, thank you very much, also Anna, for that good presentation on adaptation and resilience at its best practice. And more just to add is on the climate smart water capture, and that was through sand dams. And sand dams are, you know, they're more of structures that capture surface runoff that are stored under the sand, and are usually used more specifically during the lean period for both domestic and agricultural needs. And also on the low-cost land restoration, the FMNR. And I know the region to be one of the highest, with one of the highest levels of charcoal production as one of the negative coping strategies. And the fact that this was one of the best or sustainable solution that personally I really appreciated. And this was given to the fact that despite it being a low cost, it also provided almost immediate use of the resources, the tree resources, through the pruning method, which gave the community options of sustainable charcoal production, as well as other uses of the trees without necessarily having to completely, put the tree down. And more importantly is how then it was also able to support the nature-based solutions, such as there were a couple of groups that I remember had already started beekeeping, and this was as a result of the fact that then the natural environment was being conserved, and that then provided a conducive environment for the bees. And lastly, on the craft, which you just mentioned, given that this was coming from sisal, there was also evidence of increased production of sisal, which is also known to be a very good soil. It prevents rather soil erosion, and we can all agree to the fact that soil erosion is also one of the key environmental degradation or environmental problems in these areas, given the fact that most of the land is bare, as well as very few or erratic rainfall that fall down very frequently. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Hannah and Calvin. Does anyone else have any final thought or comment before we end this recording? Great. Okay, so thanks, Calvin.